Hey, Margie here. Research has shown the many health benefits of having a gratitude practice. Yet many of us don't, or many of us aren't really sure the best way to incorporate gratitude into our lives. So I wanted to dig into this even deeper. And our special guest today is Holly Bertone. And Holly is a #1 Amazon best-selling author, and she's a sought after speaker and gratitude coach. As a breast cancer and autoimmune survivor, she helps women view their chronic illness as a gift and unwrap resilience using a proven method to build fortitude with gratitude. She's the president and CEO of Pink Fortitude LLC and the founder of Fortitude Academy. And Holly has been on before discussing how gratitude builds fortitude. But today, what we're doing is really how can we put this into our life and how can we make it stick? What are the best ways? Because we can say we're going to do it, but it oftentimes doesn't work. So today, we're really figuring out the best ways to incorporate gratitude into our life. So it's easy, it's free, and it can really make a difference in your life. So stay tuned. Welcome, Holly. I can't tell you how happy I am to see you. And I love, 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 love this topic. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me back. I'm so thrilled to be here and to share and connect with everyone. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, I loved our talk last time. And the reason I wanted you back was because gratitude is so powerful. I see it every single day. I know myself, if I don't do my gratitude practices, really my life's very different, but I see it with everybody I work with and people in my community. And it's just a complete life changer when it comes to our health, when it comes to our happiness, when it comes to everything, our bones. It's just so
Yeah.
important. And a lot of people are having issues with this. And so I really wanted to have you back to delve in deeper so we could really get some more strategies that we can use and really figure out, how we can best use this gratitude to really make the impact that it can. So welcome, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
So, you know what? I know in the last time you were here, you talked about your background, but maybe quickly just sort of give a brief recap, because I think it's important for people listening and hearing you for the first time to know why you are so passionate and why this has become, because you didn't start out being someone who, teaches gratitude and has entire communities dealing with this. So why don't you just share, like the synopsis version of, because for people, I'll give the link to your other a podcast episode where you really talked about your story, which is really quite amazing. So why don't you share like the highlights so people understand why this is so
Sure.
important to you?
Yeah, so before all the craziness happened and all the health challenges, I was that person who was, building a successful career. I worked at one of those, I was actually a chief of staff at one of those 3-letter government agencies they make TV shows about. And I was racing Xterras and mountain bikes, and just like I literally had kind of the perfect lifestyle and the perfect life. And then on my birthday, on my 39th birthday, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I went through surgery, chemo, radiation, and then I wasn't getting any better after treatment ended. And all the girls in support group were out doing those 5K, pink ribbon walks and runs, and I'm like, I'm still really sick. So finally, a year later, my doctors diagnosed me with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is the autoimmune component of hypothyroidism. And two of the biggest symptoms are extreme fatigue and weight gain. So yay. So anyway, in a 90-second, so that was back in 2010, 2011. And yeah, just life has been kind of just figuring it out ever since.
Yeah. And so you'll tell us about gratitude, like how that has helped you. But why do you think people struggle with gratitude? I think everyone has heard, oh, how powerful it is. And that's the antidote to stress. And, just think of things you're grateful for. And,
Right.
but why people still struggle with this? What do you think what do you think it is?
Well, and it's interesting, and we talked a little bit about this in the previous episode. So my mother was kind of my role model. she was diagnosed with Addison's disease when she was pregnant with me. So she had this rare condition, was sick her entire life. She passed in 2019. And but her whole life mantra was, it builds fortitude, it builds fortitude. And when I went through my own health challenges, I really adopted that mantra as well. But it wasn't, and you know, along the lines, I also started to adopt gratitude and was, you know, really focused on, you know, learning about gratitude and focused on gratitude. But then at one point, it just like, it really clicked that gratitude, that she kept saying, it builds fortitude, it builds fortitude. And all those years, like I thought the challenges and everything like that. But at one point it clicked that the it that she was referring to was gratitude. And that gratitude is the best way to build fortitude and strength and grit when health challenges or any kind of challenges, right, shatter your world. And I think part of it is that I've heard from so many in my community, and why I just went so deep into gratitude over the last couple of years is that I've heard from so many people. In fact, when people join Pink Fortitude, they come into my community. I have this tiny little survey just to kind of say, okay, how can I support you? 75% say that they like the concept of gratitude. It either doesn't stick or they don't know how to make it. It just, they love the concept of gratitude. They just can't get it to work for them. That's 75% of people coming in saying, I want to be grateful, but I don't know how, and I can't get it to stick. That breaks my heart. It absolutely breaks my heart, because gratitude is free and everyone can do it. There's what, 7-8 billion people on this planet. Everyone can practice gratitude, right? So so going from that place and seeing, you know, hearing all the stories, and I'm like, okay, let's really start to dig in, and you know, and why this is a struggle. And really, I think it comes down to Rick Hansen is a neuroscientist, and he had said at one point, 80% of our brain is like Teflon, or I'm sorry, 80% of our brain is like Velcro for negative thoughts, and 20% of our brain is like Teflon for positive thoughts, right? So it's like the negative thoughts just like they just want to come in, and the positive thoughts just, you know, kind of go away. We have between 50 and 70,000 thoughts that come in to our brain on any given day. And if we look at that, and 80% are negative and 20% are positive, like that's kind of big. And it's like, okay, no wonder gratitude doesn't work. And then if you have some kind of health challenge, you know, whether it's cancer or autoimmune or diabetes or, you know, whatever those challenges are, you know, it's not just like the regular challenges of life, but after kind of that point of diagnosis, you're looking at, you know, medical bills. So financial problems are now multiplied because there's all these medical bills. You have, you know, general relationship problems are now magnified, right? Because you have the stress of this, you know, illness or whatever. So whatever kind of those normal challenges are, and that normal kind of negativity is, it starts to multiply. And then, you know, nowadays we live in a world, and, you know, you can probably listen to this episode 2 years from now and it's going to be something different, right? But, you know, we live in such divisive times, like it's an us versus, you know, a you versus me society. Like you can't even go out and talk to a neighbor without some kind of conflict these days. You can't call a family member, and, you know, and you can't turn on the news. So that 80-20, I don't know recent statistics. I'd hanker, I guess it's a little bit more than that. So it's like the negativity just compounds, and it's our brain's primal ability of survival, right? Our brain has this primitive ability to always look for the threat and to keep us safe. Like our brain's job is to keep us safe. And then you've got this compounding of all of this negative stuff. So no wonder gratitude doesn't work, right? And not just that, like just like I said, like everything else that we have to deal with. So, you know, when someone comes in and they're like, I love the concept of gratitude, but it's just not working for me. This is why we're just bombarded with everything.
Yeah, so true. I'm such a big believer that we need to deal with our thoughts. And when we are swarming in negativity, nothing can heal. Nothing
Yeah.
can heal in that environment. And so, yes, but that's interesting that actually the gratitude is hard to stick. So, all right, now we're ready, Holly. Everyone's sitting here like, yes, yes, there is negativity. Yes, I could use that. So, what give us, I know this could be hours and hours, but what would you say are some of your top tips to really helping us get gratitude to stick and do a practice? Because we want to, we all have limited time. So if we're going to
Yeah.
do this practice, which is good that it doesn't take that long, but and as you said, it's free, which is just so fabulous and so life transforming. So why don't you share with us some of your tips and strategies so how we can get gratitude to stick?
Yeah, and I love calling it sticky gratitude because sticky gratitude is just a fun word. I
It
think
sounds like
sticky.
taffy, quite honestly.
Yes.
When I
Oh
hear
my
that,
goodness, it's like gratitude taffy. I
yeah,
love
I
that.
was like thinking of like sticky gratitude. I'm thinking of being at the shore and being seen, in the taffy, but like with
Oh,
gratitude.
okay. I just got goosebumps because Mama Fortitude's one of her favorite place is the beach, or was the beach, and Ocean City. And it was always a thing. We went to Ocean City, and it was really a struggle for her to actually get down to the beach. So she would, we go in the off season when no one was there and the rates were cheaper, get oceanfront, and she could just open the windows and see. But when she was able to physically get down to the boardwalk, one of her favorite places to go was the store with all the saltwater taffy, and she would just pick out all this taffy, and she was so happy. So, oh, you just like brought so much love
Well,
to my
it's
heart
funny
with
because the
that.
image I'm seeing, I don't know why when you said sticky gratitude, I'm thinking of, the taffy saying the word gratitude on it. I don't know
Oh my
why.
goodness. I love that. I love that. So before we jump into that, and so in I think it was like episode 53, we talked about the science of gratitude, but I want to kind of do a really big PS before we get into
Sure.
to making gratitude stick. Because and I think especially kind of in the days and the times that we're in, you've got this negativity, and stress is one of the biggest causes of inflammation in your body. And it's just one of the biggest causes of
Oh,
inflammation in your
it's
body.
huge. I
It's
completely,
very
I
huge, right?
honestly, every single person I work with, we have to deal with this because, as I said, you can't heal when you're in that sympathetic state. When you're
Right.
in that stressful state, really people don't heal. So this is
Yeah.
just as important as the food people eat and the exercise. So I couldn't agree more. So continue.
Yeah. So stress causes inflammation. Inflammation causes disease, right? And gratitude is scientifically proven to reduce stress. So if we can start reducing that stress, we can start reducing that inflammatory response. It's like it's like you get your paper cut, right? Your white blood cells they know where to go, they know what to do. But when you have stress, your body has this inflammatory response because it doesn't know where to go or what to do. So it just goes everywhere, right? And gratitude really helps to bring that stress level down, to bring that inflammation down, and to keep us into that, the parasympathetic mode, so that we can be in that rest and digest. And I think it's a really important just to touch on that. We don't have to go deep, but just to touch on that. But before I want to, share about, kind of the three top tips that I have for getting gratitude to be sticky. So
That is important because if you don't realize this is going to work, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like as I said, we have limited time. And if you don't realize there's scientific research showing the benefits of gratitude, then you may think, if it's not going to work, why am I going to bother? But if you know that, I think that I'm glad you brought that out because there is great research and they've done,
yes.
that this truly has been, there is evidence and there's articles and they've done research showing that this does work. So yes, thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so I want to jump into the three ways. And first of all and I was a psychology major in college, so I love anything that's like personality or psychology or just kind of digging into that. But everyone kind of starts with the listing 3 things you're grateful for, which is awesome, which, absolutely 100% I support you should do. But that's kind of that's the go-to. And I honestly think that is the easiest place for people to start. First thing in the morning, right before you go to bed, list 3 things you're grateful for. But if you stay there and that doesn't work for you, you kind of think that that's it. And then gratitude doesn't work, and then gratitude doesn't stick, right? So it's going beyond that and, figuring out, okay, how do I do gratitude my way, right? And, maybe I'm not a list maker. Maybe I'm very, heart-centered. And I don't want to just make a list of a bunch of stuff I'm grateful for. Maybe I'm going to pick one thing that day and just go really, really deep and say, why am I grateful for this? Or, maybe I'm like a super competitive person. So, maybe I'm going to call a friend who's likewise, right? And we're just going to have like a gratitude battle, right? Or like a gratitude boot camp, or, go around the table at dinner time with the family and see how many we can come up with, or challenge myself and say, you know what, I'm going to make a list every day. I'm going to see how many days I can go, and continue, kind of like walking your 10,000 steps every day or something like that, like kind of make a little challenge. So we all have kind of different personality strengths, and really trying to find how to make gratitude work for us in a way that it, and I always like to say, in order to make gratitude stick, you need to meet gratitude where gratitude is at, and you need to let gratitude meet you where you are at. And it's kind of like when you have kids, right? You kind of have to figure out their own quirky personality, even if it's totally different from you, and say, okay, this is how I'm going to meet, my child to teach this lesson. Well, gratitude's kind of the same way. My stepson could, when he was a little bit, he's like 19 and an Eagle Scout and off to college, but when he was a little guy, he did not get subtraction. He just couldn't get it. And I mean, it took a million different ways, and we finally get out the Legos, and it's like we started, and he started to get it, and he started to get it, and he started, like, we build and then we take, tear apart, and we build and we tear. We did addition, we did subtraction, like that's how he got it. So gratitude's kind of the same way. Like, you really have to figure out, let's look outside the box. Let's look beyond what, kind of they say to start with, and figure out ways to make gratitude. Maybe it's making a gratitude box, and, you write down and put your gratitudes in your box. Like, you could think of creative ways to get gratitude, to really mean something to you.
I
And
think
then
that's, yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
let's just delve into this for another minute,
Mhm.
because I think that's a really good point. Because to just write, oh, I'm grateful for my life, I'm grateful for my health, I'm grateful, and just go on, you're not really, you're not really absorbing it. You're not really. So I think, and I know they've done studies on that. When you write more details about it, it's even more effective. So I think that's a good point. You have to see how it fits you, and how does it feel, right? To stop for a minute and
Yeah,
just see how it, if it feels nothing, if you just write it real fast, like just something else on your to-do list, how effective is that going to be?
right.
But I think I love that, in terms of really figuring out what works for you and playing around with different things. And you'll know, because right away, right? Am I right about that? Right away, you'll feel better.
Yeah,
you
something's
know,
going to light you up, and you're going to be
yes.
like, oh, this works.
Yeah, yeah. And then you're going to want to do it because you had a good result, and you could feel it in your body, and you could just, you feel better. So I think that's such a good point, not to just do what everybody says, do, and again, that can work, of course, but to figure out the best way that works with you. And each person's different, and what works for your friend may not work for you,
Yeah.
or if you're in a class, if everybody's doing this, that just may not be exactly what you need to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And the end goal, we all want to start with doing gratitude and gratitude being an activity, but the end goal is that at some point over time, gratitude is just going to naturally shift from something that you do to who you become. And that's when the magic really starts to happen.
Oh, that's so beautifully said, and so So true. When you live your life like that and just grateful for everything, and it just happens, I couldn't agree more. It just becomes who you are when you start, when, it just naturally happens.
Yeah.
You're right, but it's
Yeah.
true. That was, I love how you said that.
Yeah. So, and then number two is to start within. And this is where, and I kind of say I respectfully disagree with the experts on this one. And I actually kind of go into in the course that I train my students on, I go into this in like extreme detail. But in a snapshot, so Dr. Robert Emmons is probably, I would say, the world's expert on the research and the science of gratitude. He's got the Greater Good and UC out of UC Berkeley, and that's where a lot of the studies come from. And I 100% respect him. I wouldn't be where I am today without him. Like I like his research, and me diving into this literally changed my life. So I want to say that as, but I do respectfully disagree, because he has a concept that he says you can't be grateful to yourself. And I don't know. And I think especially coming from a place of, breast cancer and autoimmune and chronic illness and debilitating chronic fatigue, I really think that, as an individual who has either health challenges or challenges in general, you really beat yourself, down. Like you've got an autoimmune disease, kind of that default that the doctors tell you, oh, your body's betraying yourself. So now you've got this identity that my body's betraying myself. And then that's the story that you tell yourself. That's the story you tell everyone else, right? Going through breast cancer, that was like, oh, my breasts are killing me, right? Like that's kind of the common lexicon of the breast cancer community. And when you live in that place of, I am this, whatever that is, whether it's a health challenge or something else, and you kind of become that, then the negative self-talk starts to happen. And it's really hard to be in that place of that self-love, that self-compassion, and that self-care. And I honestly, truly think that you have to have gratitude to yourself first, and to love yourself first before you can give it to the world, and to share it without. I mean, it's the concept of it's hard to you can't pour from an empty cup, or you put your oxygen mask on first on the airplane before you put the oxygen mask on something. So it's the same concept. And I really truly believe that we need to have gratitude to ourselves, gratitude to our amazing bodies. Like I talked about the paper cut, right? Like our bodies are meant to, our bodies naturally are going to heal themselves. Like there's all kinds of stuff going on that's creating this disease, right? But we need to be grateful to our amazing body that made us who we are. And to eventually be in that place where we can be grateful for the challenges that life has given us, right? That this is a gift, right? This is happening, and Tony Robbins says it, it's not that this is happening to me, it's this is happening for me, and finding that gift. And I think that is 100% critical, and that is a huge missing component of why gratitude doesn't stick, because we need to start from within first.
You said so many things that are really interesting, but I didn't realize that was that. I mean, to me, that makes so much sense. How could you not be grateful to yourself? And
Right.
how not, I didn't realize that certain experts don't believe that. Why is that they say not to be grateful for yourself to yourself? But the other
Yeah.
thing, oh my gosh, I live my life that way. And that I've seen that, sometimes they say, you don't connect the dots until you look back. But while you're going for something, going through something, every challenge really is our greatest opportunity for growth. But if we could only stop and say, if this was for a higher purpose, what would it be?
Right.
And it's, so many people, no matter what they've gone through, look back and they're like, thank you for this, because my
Yeah.
life would be very different had this not have happened. And I've had numerous things happen in my life that were not great, but looking back, like, thank you so much, because what I had to go through really made me the person I am today. So yes, so be grateful even for the things that don't seem that you would normally not be grateful for. But yes,
Right.
I couldn't agree more about starting with yourself. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting, because I guess you're right. When people are writing the three things down, that might not be one of the first things that comes into their mind.
Right, right. Yeah. And, I wouldn't wish anything I went through on anyone, right? That's just, but it is such a gift. And it is a gift to be in that place, to view it as a gift, so
Yeah, or I always call it silver lining too,
yeah, yeah,
my life would be so very different if I, I think everybody could look through their challenges and say, what was that gift and what was that silver lining? But sometimes it's challenging while you're going through it to just stop and say, if this was happening for a higher purpose, like what could
right.
it be? And, even with the pandemic, as hard as it's been, there have been positives that people have gained or from going through this that they've learned that will help their life. So yeah, it's so true. So continue on about
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
sticking
So
gratitude. Yeah.
yeah, so the third way, the last way is habit stacking. And this is like a old school business practice for getting habits to stick. But really just like taking gratitude and attaching it to something that you already do on a natural, basis. So so let's say we go back to the, three things in the morning or three things at night. So let's say you are that person and that's what lights you up and how you do your gratitudes, to stack that gratitude and, okay, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to say my gratitudes. Or, before I go to bed, before I turn out the lights, like that, switching off the light switch, I'm gonna habit stack that with that habit of switching off the light. I'm gonna say my gratitudes, and that might work for you. Or let's say in the morning, once you're up and you're ready to go, before you go about your day, you have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea in a quiet place. Maybe you meditate or you do some, kind of faith-based something, right? And you can attach your gratitudes to that. So let's say this is, when I'll do my gratitudes, make my list, write about it, journal about it. Or, some people like to keep like a little stone in their pocket, or maybe before your meal, before you sit down and have a meal, just to kind of say thank you for this food and for where this food came from and how it's going to nourish my body. Whether you're faith-based or not, you can still say a gratitude at dinner for the food, the nourishing food that you're about to eat. So, and I know the concept sounds so simple, but to really kind of figure out those touch points during your day where, okay, how can I attach gratitude to this, and figure out what those touch points are, and and then how are you going to attach, and kind of back to that gratitude your way, what are the activities that you like to do, and then kind of put everything together.
Oh, so helpful. And I call them appreciation breaks, just during the day to stop
Yes.
for a minute. And, that's just part of my day and just stop and take a pause and just appreciate the moment for whatever happened. And I think what you said before, once you make it a lifestyle and it becomes you, you just sort of do it. I mean, I notice when I'm just writing to people or people who have helped me with things, it's just, I'm so grateful for anything,
Yeah.
and I think people love that too. It's one of their favorite things, but it goes both ways. When you're grateful to somebody else and appreciate it, it elevates their day as well. And you feel good. So it's just such a win-win. But,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's a good point because we say, people can be listening. Okay, I'm going to do this, but you need that action plan and you need to figure out exactly how. So that's where you're, I think, a master at this, because for people who are listening, maybe I'll do it, maybe I'll not. You do have something really great right now that's going on to help people. Can you tell everyone about I love the name, Grumpy to Grateful, the mini challenge, like exactly what that is, why you created it, and why you think, why is that needed?
Yeah, absolutely. And just like sticky, I think grumpy is just a silly word, And it was the funniest thing because I had one person like, grumpy, you're calling me grumpy? And then I kind of wrote back to her and explained, and she was like, and then I had another person, like I had sent out an email, and she was like, I get it, right? Like grumpy, right? Like we're kind of
Yeah,
when my
define it so people,
yeah,
because we
just
think
like
of the
kind of
grumpy old man, that's like a
right,
lot of the
right.
picture.
It's
Yeah.
just like being in that state of like, right. But from going from that, like, to like just that happiness and that light. And when I'm having a bad day, like trust me, I am the queen of grumpy. And my husband would always call me Grumpy Gus if I'm in a mood, right? And it just, like, the second he said that, it started to make me laugh. And that's why I was like, okay, if it's just a funny, silly word. But basically, it's going to be a live challenge all week long, and there's going to be replays available. But basically, going through how to grow a gratitude practice. And every single day, it's going to be like a part training, part interaction, part group coaching. We're going to learn how to build a gratitude practice, kind of expand on what we talked about today, how to build a gratitude practice so that it is 100% on your own terms. And then also look at how to incorporate your own religion, faith, or spirituality, whatever that is to you, and how to incorporate that into your gratitude practice so that you can bridge the gap and draw closer to your creator. We'll also cover one daily habit, really dive into that kind of habit stacking and some other tips and tricks too to implement so that your gratitude practice really does become second nature. And then also get into journaling and writing for gratitude. And even if you're not a journaling person, there's a lot of different alternatives that you can do. And so there's so much that we're going to cover. It's going to be so much fun.
And this is free, correct?
It is free. Yes,
Yeah.
100% free.
Oh, great. So anybody listening, this is definitely a way to get into gratitude. It's interesting because Dr. Medea Saeed, someone who I'm just so
Yes,
fond of.
I love her.
Yeah,
Oh my
I do.
goodness.
And it was interesting. I've done numerous programs with her, and she's been on the podcast as well, talking about inflammation. And when I asked her, what's the one thing, where would you start? And guess what she said? The first thing is gratitude. She said the
Oh, I
absolute
love that.
first thing in dealing with any inflammatory condition is start with gratitude. And I think, people are so worried. There's so many things going on, and we can get so overwhelmed. Just, it's very easy to get overwhelmed, which in my mind is the absolute enemy to happiness. And, where do you start? But this is
Right.
such an amazing place because it's free, number one.
Yes.
It's completely life transforming, number two, and it's something that continues to grow and
Yeah.
really doesn't take a lot of time once it becomes part of you. And yeah,
And
so what
I promise one small win every single day. So we're not even going big or going home. Like, it is just one small win. We are just taking it one baby step at a time.
Yeah, and that's the way to make things sustainable and change.
Yeah.
I don't find, some people say, oh, just jump right in and do all these things. I have not seen that work at all. But just like you say, the one baby step, take that,
Yeah.
then build on that to the next and the next. And all of a sudden, it's amazing what has happened and how your life has changed. And,
Yeah.
and then you can look back and say, wow, that gratitude was really powerful. But yeah, so this is great. So I'll have all the links for that. Is there anything else that you want to any last minute things? We can go on and on because there's so much to this, and I have so much fun. I love your energy and just being with you. And this is something that to me, oh my gosh, gratitude is, I can't even imagine my day without gratitude. I mean, even when I swim, I mean, this is being honest. So I love swimming. It's when I actually, and my first two laps, or I go through each body part. Thank you for my wrists that work, thank you for my elbows. I go through and I just feel so good. And it's just such a win-win. So everybody listening,
Yeah.
do try these. And then we have this great challenge available too. And so if people are listening, so the challenge is going to be right now when this podcast is released. But if they're listening, and the challenge is over, you have other things at that link as well, correct?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay, so don't worry if you've missed the challenge. If you can make the challenge, absolutely. And there's replays to the challenge, correct? So
Mhm.
if they go on and they missed a day, they can start. Oh, good. And so, and plus you'll be having it again. So there's always
Yes.
another time for it. So is there
Yes.
any last minute things that you want to share or leave the audience with, or anything else that you want to enlighten us to?
Yeah, I mean, we've covered so much, and really just kind of back to that, don't give up, right? I mean, just gratitude is meant for you, and just accept it, just meet it where it's at, where it's at, and let it meet you where you're at. And and don't give up, because gratitude is real, it's free, and it's for you, and it's wonderful, and it will change your life.
Yeah, And it really does. I mean, that's why I wanted you back, because this is powerful for anything, for if you're struggling with issues with your bones, if you're struggling with any chronic pain, if you're struggling, whatever you're struggling with, this just can take that down a notch and just really help accelerate the healing and accelerate,
Yeah.
I'm such a big person in happiness, and this is such a key, gratitude, in terms of living with an open heart. That's one of the, that's like a part of my program. We do a whole thing on, and this is such a big piece to it. So to really delve into this and figure out what's going to work with you, is just great. So anyway, I can't thank you enough. It's always a pleasure being with you. And thank you for sharing this and creating this great challenge that I know can help so many. So thank you so
And thank
much.
you so much. Yeah, I look forward to connecting with everyone.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Holly and are now motivated to either start a gratitude practice or make some changes to your existing gratitude practice. All the links that Holly talked about will be in the show notes, including her link to the Grumpy to Grateful mini challenge that she talked about. And if this is after the time of the podcast, no problem. Still go to that link, because there's all sorts of great information that she's giving to you to really help you figure out what's the best way for you to incorporate more gratitude into your life. And as we talked about, it is so powerful and life-changing, easy and free. So I'm grateful to all of you today. And thank you so much for listening and tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.